Well, Republican New York Congressman-elect George Santos seeing a lot of backlash after admitting to lying about major details of his life. Some of what came into question included where he attended college, where he worked, and the number of properties that he supposedly owned or owns. Santos has admitted at this point to lying, but says he will not resign. He plans on taking the oath of office. This outraged a lot of Democrats, of course, who have called for his resignation and investigations by authorities. But, you know, there are other people, there are other politicians who have been known to either exaggerate or lie or, let's say, plagiarize. For instance, President Biden, back in I forget it was 87, 88, he was forced to drop out of the presidential race for plagiarizing a speech from a British politician and lying about his academic career. Take a look at this.
I think I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. I won the International Moot Court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only need 123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
I forget at what point he dropped out of the presidential race. But let's bring in former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins to weigh in. Doug, I'm going to set it up this way, first of all. I'm not in favor of any of our politicians lying, especially on those kinds of concrete foundational elements, okay? I think we should know where somebody goes to school, where they worked and that sort of thing, whether they are Jewish or Jew-ish, as he has described himself. But it is being selective because we have seen this kind of lying elsewhere, haven't we?
Well, we've seen it, Bob, and it's good to see you. But yeah, look, I have a struggle here. I mean, he didn't lie about one thing. Yeah. He didn't lie about, like Elizabeth Warren, about being a Native American. He didn't lie about Richard Blumenthal about going to Vietnam. You know, there's just little things. This was like almost everything on his resume. At my point now, for any member of Congress to work with him, is what is he telling the truth about? I think that's his biggest issue is going forward, is that he has just, you know, absolutely zero credibility with anybody because you don't know what to believe and what not to believe. Look, I'm one of those that, look, I believe if you lie, they should be held to consequences. At least Biden had to drop out of the presidential race. Unfortunately, he came back and was still elected senator. But, you know, there's got to be some, if we just simply whataboutism is saying, well, other people have done it. I don't disagree that other people, they should have been held accountable. They should have been put before ethics. They should have been done this. But Republicans, we've called it out honestly that you ought to be honest in what you're doing. This one, he just lied about almost everything except his name. And I heard somebody comment the other day, he said, are we even sure he's Republican? I mean, it's gotten that bad. It's going to be hard for him to actually function as a member of Congress.
Yeah, now, what's interesting here, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kevin McCarthy kind of needs his vote. And if for some reason Santos dropped out, I don't know the function, how this, wouldn't New York replace a governor? Wouldn't she be picking his replacement, at least temporarily? Maybe I'm wrong on that, but could that affect the number of Republican votes?
Well, number one, Hochul does not get to replace a representative. Those have to go back to a special election. Okay. She could replace a senator.
Okay, fair enough.
But here's your interesting issue. I'm hearing that the Democrats may object to seating him, which means that there's going to have to be a vote on seating him, which means Republicans are going to have to vote, and which I expect them fully to vote to seat him. Again, that puts a lot of Republicans in a bad spot about a guy who's, you know, he's coming in. Frankly, I was glad that he won. I was hopeful that he was going to be a new voice. But again, when you lie about, I mean, it's almost like everything. That's going to be a hard part. If he gets through and, you know, votes for Kevin and then resigns, I mean, those are all issues now that his actions, his choices, his decision to tell these lies is now going to affect every other member of Congress, and especially the Republicans.
What's the difference between exaggerating or, to use the term, BSing as a politician and foundational, concrete lies that people need to know about, Doug? Because you've been on both sides of this issue. And is there something you have as kind of guidance for us?
Well, I think it's interesting to me. Look, I think Elizabeth Warren should have been held accountable for her taking promotions and jobs based on the fact she said she was a Native American. Again, that was a lie. Should have been called out. Blumenthal, and knowing that he was not a, quote, war veteran of Vietnam. Those are things that matter and should be held accountable. But in this case, I still think it takes a step further. There's questions about, did he actually go to school? Did he have a college degree? Did he have the education that he says he's now presenting? That, does he have a portfolio of properties? I mean, does he have a business acumen that he claimed to have? But the one that bothers me the most, Bob, is this Jew-ish. I mean, look, that is a problem, especially to try and slay it around the edges like that. Again, he's got to answer for what he's done. The voters will, yes, he said that the voters will hold him accountable. But what he doesn't realize is everybody else has already held him accountable and that he has zero credibility.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not lying about this, but this weekend I'm going to identify as a Georgia fan. Okay.
Hey, go Dogs! Come Saturday night. It's a go Dog Nation.